good to go.
All right. We're here. Form Voltron, another episode. Brian, I think it's episode 11, but I'm not sure. So we'll go look that up. If I'm wrong, I apologize. We have another guest today. And again, I think this is fantastic. I think this is kind of like why we started the show. And this has already exceeded our expectations. We had we booked this about a week or so ago, so I rushed a little bit to get ready for it, but that's okay because I was familiar with the story anyway. Anyone who's in the pro-life movement, obviously, I'd say most of you know the story of Kermit Gosnell. But what we have today is we actually have somebody who worked for him. And this is just amazing insight, I think. And I want today to be positive. I want people to learn something. It is it's a graphic story, but I think we've got, like I've said, we have a lot of people in this audience who I think maybe are skeptical of some of my beliefs, or maybe that they snoop in and they want to hear what I'm about, and those are a lot of the people I'm trying to get through to with this show. So we have Adrienne Moton here today, and I already talked to her for a few minutes. We're ready to go. And Adrienne, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. We're honored to have you here today. This is huge. It's great that you're talking to us, and again, like just the way everything came together and getting you on here. We are always having technical difficulties here, and we always get, like, if you knew some of the background stuff that happens here, it's always kind of like we're on the edge of our seat, but we got everything going. The equipment's all set and we're ready to go. So Adrienne, before we start, I just want you quick, anything you want people to know, like, about you or your background or where you're from or anything, just to get things started. Anything that doesn't have to do with what we're talking about today, just a little introduction of yourself, so people are familiar with you.
Okay, great. My name is Adrienne Moton. I am about to be 47 years young. Single mother. I have a daughter. She's 25. I'm a caregiver. I care for my parents. I have 8 siblings. Um, I attend church, Dwelling Place Worship Center. Um, I am a former abortion worker of Kermit Gosnell, and now I am a quitter, and I fight for life.
Nice. And Adrienne, I just turned 47 yesterday, so we're the same age. Can you
Oh,
believe that?
happy
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
birthday!
Thank you. This is a good birthday present for me having you on here. So, Adrienne, this is what I want to ask you first.
Mhm.
There's a lot of, I think, this is something I noticed, like with the little bit that I found online. And I think I found the good stuff. The stuff that I researched was coming straight from you, just so you know. I didn't get it from other places. It was a lot of your interviews. I think there's a lot of, like, really wild ironies that kind of surround the story of when you worked at the clinic that I want to get into a little bit, that I feel like are very interesting, that people kind of pass over, that I think there's kind of more there. So the first one, which has amazed me, you knew the Gosnell family quite, before you actually worked for Kermit. You were friends with the niece. Can you, like, just start us there first? Like, you said you were friends with his niece, correct? And that's how you
Yes,
met the family. Can you tell us a little about that? How you met
sure,
her and all that?
sure. I met their niece in high school, and we became really good friends.
Yeah.
We were on the choir, the band together, and after school, you walk with your friends, go get your snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
So, this one particular day, I decided to walk her home,
Okay.
and that's when I met Pearl, his wife first. And I remember like it was yesterday. I spoke to her, said hi and everything. And the first thing she said to me was, "You're pregnant and you don't need to have that baby."
Right.
And I looked at her like she was crazy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was my first meeting with her.
Okay.
And still going over every day after school, and um excuse me, I wasn't feeling well at one point, and it turned out that I was pregnant.
Okay.
I was in 11th grade, And my thing was I didn't want to have a baby in high school. Um, it was I have a lot of siblings, so there wasn't really any room. Excuse me, my mother, I went to her and she was saying, I really want you to keep this baby, but you can't stay here. There's no room. And I totally understood that. But again, I didn't want to have a baby because I was still in high school, and the guy that I was dealing with at the time, his family, it was just full of incest,
Okay.
drugs, alcohol, and incest.
Okay.
So, girl actually drove me home, and she spoke with my mom to get the insurance cards and stuff like that.
Mm.
So they did that transaction. Excuse me, and it wasn't approved. So we ended up doing well. The deal was from Gosnell. He told my boyfriend at the time, well, for payment, you can do stuff around the house, do yard work, clean the fence, because Gosnell was always into plants, gardens,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my boyfriend at the time, that was his payment
Okay.
for my procedure. And the night of the procedure, they dropped me. I was at their house,
Okay.
and the waiting game for Gosnell to call for his wife to bring me. That was 2 o'clock in the morning
Right.
when I
Because
got
you said
there.
he waited till after he was done for the day with like the other.
After he
Yeah.
he did his regular pay, because
Right.
he did family medical as well.
Okay.
So after that, that's when he made the phone call for her to bring me over to the office. And yes, it was 2 in the morning.
Okay. Adrian, what I want to ask you first was this, and this again, this is one of these details that I have to ask about. You you said she looked at you and knew you were pregnant, and then you ended up being pregnant.
Hmm.
What do you have any? Was she like telepathic? What was that all about? That's
Well,
crazy. That
yeah, it is
it's
creepy, but
weird. Yeah, it's weird. What do you make of that? That
well, when it comes to women,
yeah.
they call it, that intuition, I guess.
Okay.
Some women, they can tell when another female is pregnant. They can
Yeah.
tell. And in her case, she could tell.
I find it even more ironic that you would have a gift like that, and your first
Hmm.
instinct would you. I feel like you'd be a little more in tune with the universe than to say, "Oh, you shouldn't have that baby." I mean, that's kind of.
Yeah.
One other question about that: did you ever, at any point, like I would have said at some point, "Hey, how did you know I was pregnant?" Did you ever ask her, or did you just not care? Did you
I
not
never
think about it?
asked. I never
Okay.
asked her.
Yeah, see, I would have been
I never
fascinated
asked.
with. Yeah, okay. I just found that fascinating. That because I'm into paranormal stuff and whatnot. I know that's not why we're talking today, but I thought that was wild when I heard that. So, now you another thing I wanted to ask too, and excuse my ignorance, but in the film she was stronger, and you were in that too. I didn't mention that because we had Sarah last time. You were also in the film. One thing I had a little bit of trouble piecing together. I know you became friend when you said like you had seen things you had like when you said talked about you had been on a boat for the first time and all that. That was the Gosnell family you were talking about that had shown you all this stuff, right? That's
Yes.
okay. That's I
Yes.
just want to make sure that's what. So
Hmm.
they were really good people. Like they brought you in, and it sounds like you. I mean, I would go so far to say as you probably had a lot of fun with them, and
I
it was
did.
a nice surrounding, like hanging out with them, huh?
It was.
Yeah,
It was family gatherings
yeah,
every weekend, go shopping.
yeah.
They had a summer home in Brigantine, New Jersey.
Okay.
Went out there, and that's when I was talking about never been on a boat,
Right. Okay.
walked on the deck before,
Right. Right.
all
Right.
types of all types of stuff. We had a great time.
Great. Great. So another thing, and I'm trying to go in chronological order here. You
Hmm.
actually did. You were technically, I don't know if you're a volunteer or getting paid yet at that point, but you did actually the beginning formation of you starting to work for him. That was in high school, right? When you started helping, or was that later after high school?
So in high school,
Yeah.
okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
So in high
Yeah.
school, I remember because he would give, they gave us allowance every morning.
Okay.
So at this particular time, we were trying to save up for our prom
Okay.
and graduation. So Gosnell offered for his niece and I to alphabetize all the files that they had in that basement.
Okay.
So we did that. That took about a week at the time,
Yeah.
and that was it during as far as high school.
Okay.
Now, when I actually started volunteering,
Yeah.
because that's how it started,
Right.
volunteering
Okay.
in January of 2005,
Right.
because
Okay.
I got married in '03,
Right.
and it was an abusive relationship. So
Right.
I left 10 months later.
Okay. Okay.
And when I came home, I didn't have any money.
Right.
So that's when Pearl offered, she said, "Would you like to make a couple of hours at the office? You can do the tools, the instruments."
Right.
I said, "Sure," because I needed the money. So I was
Right.
basically filling in for someone.
Right. Okay.
So that's how it started.
Right. Because I knew there was a gap. Because I actually I knew you were gonna say 2005. Like I said, I studied this. Okay, like, and I was gonna ask about. It seemed there was a gap between '96 and 2005. There was that like
Yes.
9 year gap. So I was curious, like what? Okay, so let me jumping around a little bit.
Okay.
Just curious. In one of the press conferences after he had been exposed, and I saw one of the press conferences, somebody said at one point there was a high school person working for him. They said University City or something like that. I don't know the Philadelphia area. Was that you he was referencing?
That was me.
Really?
Yes. I
Okay,
went to
okay.
University City High School.
That's what I
Yes.
thought. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to like. I know I'm jumping around here with the order, but it did make sense. I'm like, I bet that he was talking about her when
Mm-hmm.
on that part. Okay, so here's the other thing too, Adrian. Like I have, despite what people might think of me, I have a lot of sympathy for people who either worked at a clinic or maybe they had an abortion or maybe neither. Maybe they're just viciously, you know, abortion rights and they don't like people like me. The reason I give a lot of elbow room and I'm actually very compassionate towards debating with people is because I feel like, again, up in this area, and I know it's not just Massachusetts, but you're living in a world where there are people invested in, pounding certain messages into people's brains, like, get an abortion, you can't have a baby now, it's nothing, it's whatever. It's like you said, like it's like tying your shoe. I saw you said that at one point. It like becomes a routine. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You said it's like brushing your teeth or something. It becomes normal. And so the way I look at it is, I can't blame somebody if someone thinks abortion is no big deal. They think nothing of it. Well, since they were a child, they've been told this message that it's not a life. It doesn't matter. Who cares? So I can see, like with your story, it seems to me, and with a lot of other abortion workers, I noticed it sounds like it was almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like there was a slow process before you got to that point where you were just seeing everything and then you were numb to it. First, you were friends with the niece. At first, you just did, like you said, a little bit of filing work. Then you got friends with became friendly with the family. Then right when you start finally working there or volunteering there, it's not like on the first day you see everything. It was like a slow buildup. Do you think that slow buildup also was congruent with how maybe you just slowly became used to it and how this stuff was happening and it didn't really raise any alarms at first? Would you say that was accurate? Or like, you get what I'm saying? Like the slow pace of it is what made you kind of numb to it and not really think anything weird was happening. Would you agree to that? Or am I,
Well, let me say this. Okay. So when we did the files,
yeah.
there were no parts of dealing with other areas in the
Right,
clinic. It was just the
right,
basement.
right.
Okay, so now that I'm volunteering
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
there was no slow pace.
Okay,
Um, I did the tools.
okay.
So when he would do a procedure,
Yeah,
let's say first trimester.
Yeah.
Now, first trimester, I mean, I've seen blood before. It
Right.
doesn't really bother me.
Right.
So that's what was coming out. It looked like clots, but it was actually a baby,
Right. Right.
but clots.
Right.
So
Right.
I was okay with
Right.
that.
No alarms were going off yet or anything like that. You were still kind of like, okay.
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Because I've had two procedures with this man.
Right. Right.
So I felt like, okay, I know they're in good hands,
Right.
the
Right.
patients. So during the first trimesters, it was nothing. I would dump, um, which I didn't like. I didn't like dumping the babies,
Right.
and he had, the gallon milk
Yeah. You said
cartons,
you
the
cut the
jugs,
top
the
off of them.
gallons.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
I would have to cut the top, and
Right.
that's what we were, that's what I was dumping them in.
Right. Right. Right.
And I would clean the instruments and just have it set, the next set ready for the next procedure.
Right.
And that went on for a good while, but again, I was volunteering.
Right. Right.
Now, the person that I was filling for, they never they never came
Right.
back.
Right. Right. Right.
So I'm like, okay. But after a while, I noticed he said to me, he said, niece, it's a lot of money in this, you can make a few more dollars.
Right.
I have more clients coming in. And that's when he had me to start coming in the room to do ultrasounds. And mind you,
Okay.
this is still first trimester stage.
Right. Right.
So my thinking was, okay, great. I can be there with the woman.
Right.
I can talk to her,
Right.
calm her down, support her because I understand I've been in her shoes.
Right. Of
You understand?
course. Yeah.
So that's what it was like for about a good year and a half.
Right.
And then he came to me again.
Yeah.
And that's when we started talking about the second
Okay.
trimesters.
Right.
And I explained to him, I said, well, Doc, I don't really know. I'm not sure about that
Right.
because of what's been coming out.
Yeah. But
You know,
hesitant at that point. Yeah. Okay.
yes, because at times I wouldn't even I wouldn't touch the container.
Okay.
I would have him come out and do the dumping, because
Right.
that was crazy to me,
Right. I gotcha. Yeah.
So I said I'll try. And what he did a 13 weeker.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. So that's how I got caught up, you
Right.
know, with second trimesters. And yeah, that's how I ended up being in the room with him.
Right. And Adrian, the 13 weeker, that was the one that you gave a name to. Was that the one that made you finally, or did that come later on? The one that made you
Okay.
finally?
The one I
Yeah.
gave a name to his
Yeah.
I named him Jacob.
Right.
Um he that happened in 2007.
Okay. Adrian, I want to ask you something about that too. I just noticed all these weird little things that I don't know if you ever gave it thought to. Do you think, and maybe I'm just really stretching here, you said that day that when that incident took place, something happened, and you can fill in the blanks where you came in late or something like that. It wasn't your normal routine, and you went and saw like it had already happened, and you saw the baby. And the reason I ask it is because if your routine was in fact broken up that day, do you think maybe your routine being broken up that day and coming in and seeing it differently, do you think that might have also factored into that being the day when you had finally had enough, or did that have nothing to do with it? Any
No, I had enough. The thing was, you were almost there. You was almost
right?
right.
I just thought it was ironic that you
I
showed
stuck
up
to
late that day. That yeah,
No,
go on.
no.
I'm
I
sorry.
I
Yeah.
didn't show up late.
Okay. Okay.
I showed up regular time.
Okay.
My routine, I always called to see how many we were doing for the day
Okay.
because I always like to mentally prepare myself.
Okay. Okay.
And when I was told that he has a 30 weeker, and I told the girl that I was talking to, I said, I know you're lying. I said,
Yeah.
Doc wouldn't go that far.
Right. Right.
And she said, no, I'm serious. So I said, well, I'm on my way in. I come in. I went to the back. I saw the patient. She was resting.
Yeah.
So I went upstairs, my normal routine, talked to the administrator. Then when I came downstairs, they had him laying in my station.
Right.
And this is tough. This is
Yeah, it's okay.
so
Take
tough
your
for me.
time. Yeah.
But he was laying at my station,
Yeah.
and a Pyrex baking dish that was way too small for him.
Right. Right.
And I just went off.
Yeah.
I went off on my other coworkers at the time because I know y'all heard me coming downstairs.
Right.
Y'all could at least covered him, have some respect. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
So I was just looking at him. He was huge.
Right.
He was
Right.
huge, and I was just looking at him, and I was apologizing to him,
Yeah.
and just telling him how sorry I am.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of him,
Yeah.
and I covered him, and I put him at my site.
Yeah.
And Doc, who normally comes in extra late, he came in early that day.
Okay.
He came in, it was about 12, almost 1 o'clock. And I just looked at him, with this look of disgust, like, are you serious? And all he said was the aunt felt it was best for
Right.
her to not have it. And I'm thinking he was due any day,
Right. Right.
because the mother, she was about that big.
Okay.
And he was just due any day. And I just felt, I was very angry.
Right. Right. And
I
he
was
was
very
being like
angry.
kind of casual about it while you were upset about it too.
Like
It
that's all
sounds
he
like.
that's all he said.
Right. Right.
And I said, all this for money.
Yeah. Why don't? Here's what I'm going to do too. I have one question about like that is kind of related to this, so I'll ask it now so we can get on to some other stuff. We might as well just get it. Adrian, like a lot of people, again, people that are resistant to like this type of message, something like this happens. It's for a lot of pro-choice people, it's or abortion rights. What I hate the word choice because it makes it sound like I'm telling people what to do, and I'm not. We're talking about
Right.
abortion. That's the only choice we're talking about. People don't believe that this type of thing happens. They, even with the Gosnell case, they might think maybe it was hyped up and exploited by the pro-life side of the argument. You were there. You saw this, when they say what he was accused of and ultimately went to jail for, it was partial birth abortions, taking babies' lives after they, while they were alive. You talked about using scissors in the back of their neck, crushing skulls, all this stuff. I just want the audience to know, and you can tell them, you saw this stuff. I mean, this was real. This isn't a news story to you. It's not a picture.
Right.
It's not an image. You worked in that clinic. So that's why this is such an amazing opportunity to hear from someone like you. So just anything you want to say about that, what I just said, that just to let the audience know, those who don't believe this stuff is real, you were there, that this really happened in that clinic and you saw it.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did happen.
Yeah.
And just like with the 30 weeker,
Yeah.
he took him away
Yeah.
and he cut him up.
Yeah.
And he cut him up, and he put him in a container and put him in a freezer.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, Sometimes when he would do the procedure and the head is, too big, yes, he will take scissors to the back, or he'll take a clamp. I don't know. I don't remember the names of the actual instruments, the
Right.
proper names of them, but
Right.
yeah, he would take a clamp and crush their skull, to make it easier for the
Right.
baby to come out.
Right.
Um, Sometimes it will come out, the baby will come out whole. Sometimes it will come out in pieces.
Yeah. Okay. And Adrian, again, I can't thank you enough. This is going to be a good episode today, and people need to hear this. I just want to remind you that so fantastic that you've come on here and how much I appreciate you talking to me about this. So, I think we got that point across, okay? And what I want to move on to next is this. Another, again, Adrienne, just to me, wild twist and turn. And Adrienne, I don't mean to trivialize. You've been through the ringer, so please, like, sometimes I use adjectives because I get excited about talking about political issues or whatever. I'm not trying to trivialize what you went through when I use those types of terms, but like, crazy ironic twist that I just think is nuts. You had, by the time the law enforcement got involved, you had already quit. So I got to imagine, I can't even picture, we've all been through things in lives where you deal with a problem, it's behind you. Here you are. I got to imagine you left this in the past. And then you get a call from your friend, and this all starts coming up again. And you find out that picture you had taken, someone told the police that you had taken that picture. Can you get it? So first of all, what was when you realized that you said the FBI wanted to talk to you, what was that, after thinking you had left this behind, that must have been a slap in the face. I mean, you must have been like, come on, what is going on here? Like, take us to that day when you got that phone call from your friend. I'd love to hear about that because like I said, I imagine you thought you were in the clear and this was just done with. Tell us about that day when your friend called you.
So she called, and so what happened was his office got raided.
Right,
So when she called and told me, she said, "Well, I gave them your number."
right,
And I said, "Well, why? I don't even work there anymore. It's been well over a year. Why would
right,
you do that?" "Well, I figured you can give them some information." So I said, "Whatever."
right,
And then I believe, no, I'm sorry, the woman died first.
right,
The woman died on his table,
right.
and another girlfriend called. And when she told me that,
You knew what it was. What you
I
knew
knew
right
I knew
away.
how
Yeah.
she
Okay. Okay.
died.
Yeah.
And you know, prayers for her family, to her
Yeah.
family. And so then after that, he had got raided, and that's when the girl told me that she gave them my information.
Okay.
And it was weird because, we have, when someone calls you, the area code and the numbers come up,
Yeah.
it was just the area code
You knew
when
something
my
was
phone
up.
rang.
Yeah.
It was just 215. That's
Right.
it. So I already knew. I
Yeah.
answered, and it was the FBI.
Yeah.
And, they were really nice on the phone.
Right.
And, they asked if I can come down so I can answer a couple of
Right.
questions, you know. And my thing was, sure, because I have to get it out.
Right.
I have to get it off of me.
Right. You're just
So,
desperate to talk to somebody almost about it. Yeah.
yes, because
Okay.
when I left, I was free, but mentally I wasn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, I went down there and I told them everything. And I was the one that gave them that picture
Right. Okay.
because I knew, deep down inside, I just knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know when, I
Right.
didn't know how, and I
Okay.
knew they were coming for me.
Really?
I didn't know
Okay.
when, and I didn't know
So
how.
it wasn't a complete surprise when this was all
No,
okay.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Do you
because of the work environment,
right. But
we didn't all get along.
right.
I was the niece,
Right,
so
right. Okay, I gotcha.
yeah.
So, Adrian, let me ask you one more thing about that. Okay, so see, to me, I would have known right away. Like for me personally, this would have been trouble for my situation. Did you have some faith that maybe they just wanted to talk to you and they were just building evidence against him, or did you anywhere in your mind think I could be in some trouble too? Like, what were you thinking when?
You know what? That's a good question. No one ever has asked me that.
Okay,
Um, it was more like I knew they were coming for me. I didn't know
okay,
how.
okay. You didn't know what the scenario
I
would
didn't,
be. Yeah.
right. I didn't
Okay.
know how. And, when I went down there and talked to them, I told them everything. I went back as far as when I first met the Gosnells,
Okay. Okay.
and it was weird because they kept having me come down to court.
Okay.
I had to be sworn into secrecy.
Okay.
Um, keep asking questions and questions. So I started feeling like, okay, maybe this is a lot deeper than what it is.
Okay.
So me as a mom, I moved my daughter down to Georgia, to
Okay.
my sister because I
Okay.
didn't want her to see any of this.
Right. Okay.
Because again, I didn't know how they were coming.
Right. Right.
And I still went down there. I did everything they asked me to do.
Right.
They were lying to me. They were
Right.
telling me, you're going to get diplomatic immunity. It was just so many
Right. Right.
lies.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So, like I said, I did everything that
Right.
they asked me to do.
Right.
And next thing I know, January, because I was contemplating committing
Right.
suicide
I heard that part of your story. Yeah. You were not doing
because
well. Yeah.
because they were it was the court system.
Right.
They just kept calling me down
Right.
there.
Right.
I wasn't sleeping at night because I'm
Right.
seeing this baby,
Right.
trying to just the way he was looking at me every time I tried to sleep. So
Right.
it was just a
Right.
lot going on.
Right. Right.
So when they picked us up January, I think it was the 21st. I always get those days mixed up, the 20th or the 21st.
Okay.
That was one of the best moments in my
Because
life.
it was a relief. You feel like
I felt free.
yeah.
I
Okay.
just felt it was over.
Okay. All right. But you did. So people need to know this. You spent almost 2.5 years in jail, right?
Yes.
For yeah. And was I don't even know how to ask this because I'm not familiar with. Was it from the beginning? Did you know it was going to be 2.5 years, or did you, I don't know, good behavior, or whatever? Was time taken off as time went by, or did you just know after this 2.5 years I'm out? How did that work out?
I had no idea
Okay.
because the I had one visitor that I was doing karaoke with to stay up.
Okay. Okay.
He came to visit me and he was telling me he said, I don't understand what's going on.
Right.
I said, what do you mean? He said, they have you facing the death penalty.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So they
Yeah.
had me up there with him.
Right. Okay.
And I remember telling him, you know what? I'm not worried about it.
Right.
I'm not worried about it because I was so free of letting everything out.
Right.
I didn't
Okay.
think about anything
Right.
else,
Right.
you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So Adrian, I think from what you're telling me now I can kind of see where, like, when I originally asked you, were you like were you in a, like, nervous, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be in trouble? Now you're making me understand why you might have not been so worked up about the potential of jail time or whatever, because it seems like you didn't care. Finally it was out there and you could, you know what I mean? So I understand. It's making sense to me now why maybe you weren't so rattled when you had to talk to the FBI or whatever it is. I see what you're saying. So but still though, I mean, 2 years in jail, that's a lot of time to think.
and three different prisons at that.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, again, I still, and again, again, Adrian, my personal opinion, I do believe, like, I, I just think that I've seen it so many times, and I've been in these situations too, where I get what you're saying when I know I've done things like I've heard you say, like you felt like you owed the family something. I've been in those situations where people I was just so close with were doing something maybe I didn't completely agree with. And I'm like, I got to just do this just to get through this and I'll worry about it afterwards. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously I have boundaries and lines I won't cross, but there have been times where I myself have just been like, it's tough. Like if you know somebody, because another thing too, Adrian, I I believe, I want your thoughts on this too. Like, people have called Kermit a monster and this and that. And I believe that a lot of these people, and you knew him, I didn't know him. I believe there's a side of him, and correct me if I'm wrong, that
Mhm.
really thought he was doing like a service to humanity, like he was doing something good. Do you feel it was all bad, or do you really feel like there was a part of him that really believed he was helping these women and doing a charity? What are your opinions on that?
So I can understand why people say, "Oh, he's this monster."
Right, right,
I get that,
right.
okay, because um of the
The
not only
magnitude.
the
Yeah,
amount,
yeah.
but the size that
Right,
he was
right,
going. You know, he
right.
was going too far.
Yeah,
So I get that part, but the other side is what people are not saying. You know, uh, Gosnell, good dude,
yeah,
happy go lucky, outgoing, jokester.
yeah,
He loved music,
yeah.
and
Plants. You said he liked plants and
oh my
gardening, and
gosh, he loved
yeah,
plants.
yeah. Okay,
And he was the type of doctor to me, a lot of people, I just found out a couple years ago at once that was over, he was helping her family, they didn't have insurance.
okay.
And he still, took care of them, bought their medications for them. He did a lot of that for the community,
Right,
but
right,
they're not saying that.
right, right. Yeah, and
So
but I know that. Like I said, Adrian, I think like again, I'm going in like a million different directions with this, but
that's okay.
like I said, I when I debate with people, when I discuss with them, people, I've never gotten the sense that people who disagree with me on this topic, I always get the feeling that, again, no matter what their involvement is with it, they really, really believe they're doing a good thing. Like they're like, no, you don't understand. This is the humane thing to do. And so I get how people can get wrapped up in that. Like even the doctor, at some point, the doctor has to, I guess, justify what he's doing. You know what I mean? And so in that's another thing I want to ask you too. Did you, where you were so tight with the family? What I wondered was there any point after the court case, any point, even up until now, has anyone in the family ever contacted you or maybe been angry at you? Like, you helped put him in jail, like what, anything like that? Do any of them hold resentment towards you, or have you had no contact with them at all?
I had contact with one of them, and it was just weird. I
Okay.
reached out to her on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
She contacted me back. She was saying she's not really on it that much, but I
Right.
gave her my number, and
Yeah.
I was telling her I was sorry about her mom because I heard Pearl passed,
Right.
and I'm still not clear on that
Right.
mentally, but she never responded to that,
Okay.
and that was it. I really don't know how his children feel. Um, but that was a part of my life. I just had to let go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I just all these things. I just think there's some interesting parts, that, especially where you knew the family. That I was wondering. I was really curious about how that relationship continued on or anything like that. So eventually, now here's another thing I wanted to ask you about. You
Mhm.
said when you, again, if I'm mixing up the timelines, after you finally were out of prison, there was a probation period and or you're on probation. And I think you said,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this because I've been in this situation so many times, even right now. You said that you wanted to go to one of Abby's retreats, but you didn't think the probation officer would agree and you didn't want to get in like a debate with her. Am I wrong? Or you wanted to wait till you were away from that situation? Was that correct? How I heard you
Right.
say
My
that?
probation officer, you know, I love her. She was one of my biggest cheerleaders,
Right. Okay.
But she was pro-choice. She's pro-choice.
Right.
So I didn't want to open that door,
Right. I've been there.
as
I've
far as
been there.
debating and
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
So I left that alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, because you have a lot of patience to do that because I've been in these. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of do it too, but it's sad. You struck a chord with me on that because I just started thinking of all these people. Like, Adrian, I've got people I love very much in my life, and they do not like my opinions on this topic. And, I'm not out to get anybody, and I still love them. And it's sad that, like, you know, you know what I mean. Like I sometimes I feel like I'm not finger pointing or anything, but I feel like that frustration and anger they have with my beliefs, I don't hold it towards them. Again, I'm in a world where I understand millions and I'm surrounded by a culture that has no no problem with abortion. They don't think it's a problem. They don't think it's an issue. I'm the odd one out. So I have to adapt to that. And I can't judge my friendships on what they think of abortion, because if I did that, I'd have no friends. You know what I mean? So I get that kind of thing where like you didn't want to get in the debate and you wanted to wait. So and actually I am kind of going out of order. So what was the other thing that was obviously another crazy twist and turn in the story was that Abby Johnson was she was sending you letters. And even though the letters didn't get to you, you on the other end found out about her and ended up calling her. Like, how, that's crazy. How that,
Isn't it yeah,
yeah,
that is crazy.
can you tell us about that? Cause that's another, like I said, there's wild twists and turns in what you went through. Tell us a little about that.
So when we first, it was about 10 of us they picked up. It was
Yeah.
like 5 in the morning. And so Philadelphia prison system,
Yeah.
they removed me, I want to say 2 months after.
Okay.
They removed me from everybody.
Right.
So when you send, if you were to write me,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not in that facility, they will send the letters back.
Okay.
So I believe in Abby's case, she said we sent all of you guys letters and
Okay.
we never got a response.
Okay.
And I explained to her, I can only speak for myself because I was the only one that was moved from
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
So that was weird because when I came home, a woman that used to do prison ministry that will come see me at the second prison that I was at,
Okay.
she's the one that gave me a number to this organization. It's called Save the Storks.
Okay.
And, I'm just coming home. I'm vulnerable. I want to get some type of help, see if I could talk to somebody,
Right.
And I called them and I started telling them who I was and who I worked for. And I think it was a married couple. So the husband, he literally cut me off
Okay.
and he said, I don't think we could help you.
Okay.
So that rejection set in right away.
Right. Okay.
And they said, well, here's someone we think can help you.
Okay.
And that's when they gave me Abby's number.
Okay.
And I was not going to call Abby. I was
Okay.
not going to call her
Okay.
because I said, I'm not going to go through this rejection thing with
Right.
everybody,
Okay.
judging me because of what I've done. That
Right.
was my thought
Right.
process.
Right.
But when I looked her up, I said, oh,
Right.
okay,
She's a significant figure in this whole thing. Yeah.
and
Okay.
she understands. I read a story. I said, oh, she understands. So
Right.
yeah, when I called her, she was like, "Oh, I know exactly who you are." She said,
Okay.
"Did you get my letters?"
Right.
And I said, "What letters?"
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
thinking like this woman crazy,
Right.
but
Right. Right. Right.
that's how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that surprise again? Were you like, what? That must have blown your mind that she was trying to get in touch with you at the same time. What did you think when she said that?
I didn't know what to think. I
Yeah.
really thought she was
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay. I might have thought that too. That's wild.
Because we've gotten random letters from people,
Right. Right. Right.
Um, but no, I wouldn't respond, but I've never gotten I would have remembered that because the
Right.
letters that were coming in, they meant something to me, At least
Right.
I was thought about.
Right.
That's how I
Right.
looked at it.
Right.
But I never received her letters.
Right.
Never.
Adrian, I got kind of like another tough question. Like you are a mother. What man, when you were in prison, how was that? Like that must have been awful. Like did you get to would they bring your child to visit, or how did you keep that afloat like while you were in there, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, at first, I did not want my daughter to know
Okay.
because I'm thinking that I'm not going to be here long.
Okay.
Again, the detectives and the officers, they were telling me
Right.
that, you'll be going home. They was
Okay.
telling me these
Right.
lies.
Okay. Okay.
So I told my sister, I said, I don't want her to know where I'm at. This will be over soon, And what happened was I think me being a mom
Yeah.
and being in prison, that I think that was the hardest thing I had to deal with. Other than
Okay.
that, I looked at it as it's like a shelter because I've been in
Right.
the shelter system.
Okay. Okay.
So the only difference is when you're in a shelter, you sign the paper, you sign the signing sheet, and you can
Right.
leave.
Right.
Within prison, you can't.
Right. Okay.
That's how I looked at it, and that's
Right.
what helped me get through.
Right.
And but yeah, that my daughter, she was becoming a teenager.
Right. Tough
Uh,
time. Tough time for that to happen, for you to be in there. Yeah.
yeah, one of her
Yeah.
one of her friends, they was 13.
Okay.
One of her friends passed away.
Okay.
A first good friend of hers passed away, and I missed that. Her
Yeah.
first funeral. It was just a lot.
Right.
As a
Okay. Okay.
mother,
Yeah.
it was a lot. It was hard.
And again, Adrian, I just have one more quick question about that, about prison. Did you know? Maybe you already answered this, but I know you said you didn't think it, like you in your mind, you knew the whole time. You did know at some point I'm getting out. Like you did, or did you think it was going to last forever? You weren't sure, or
Okay, so when I got to the third prison,
yeah.
that's when we had to go up and it was like a
Okay.
video thing,
Yeah.
and had to do that's when I pled guilty.
Okay.
And when I did that, the judge was talking, and he mentioned if convicted or something. I don't
Right.
remember
I
everything,
don't
but
understand it either. It's okay. Yeah.
basically I was
Yeah.
I was facing 140
Okay.
years,
Okay.
and I was only 35 at the
Right.
time.
Okay.
So that was
Yeah.
challenging, but I didn't let it
Get you
take
down.
over
Yeah. Okay.
my.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't. And also, being as though my father was a CO,
Yeah.
that helped as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he
Okay.
knew the law,
Right.
and he would come and see me and stuff. So
Okay.
that kept me together.
Okay. You had some little tools there. So, and then
Yeah.
ultimately, Adrian, like, I mean, you've turned your life around. You were able to meet up with Abby. You got help. You met other people like you who had been, I
Yes.
mean, that must have been great being like, wow, other people been through this. I'm not the only one. I got to imagine that, I mean, that must have brought you some happiness to be in that environment with other people who had been clinic workers. Did that immediately help very fast? I mean, did it take a while, or did it at least give you some comfort knowing that you knew some of these other people? How did that all go to get you to where you are now?
So my first retreat,
Yeah.
it was in August 2013,
Okay.
and it was about 6 or 7 of us.
Okay.
So when everyone started sharing their story one by one, I was
Yeah.
just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Now I will say I felt a little out of place,
Yeah.
and sometimes I still do, because I am the only one that went to jail.
Right.
So I remember sharing my story with them, and I felt uncomfortable in a way, because one of the staff members, she was good and pregnant, and I didn't want to taint her baby's ears,
Right.
because
Right.
they can hear.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, so I had mixed emotions
Yeah.
about it, but they never looked at me funny. They
Right.
never judged me. I never felt judged.
Right.
So eventually, the wall came down.
Right. See,
Yeah.
your answer's funny to me because I would have guessed. I didn't even think of the fact that you went to prison. I would have thought the thing that would have been challenging for you, you're at a disadvantage because let's say you never went to prison, right?
Hmm.
You're hearing these stories. You don't know these people. In the case of you, this was a publicized event. So
Yes.
they could maybe be like, I mean, look what I did today. I could go look up Kermit Gosnell and not even look you up. And I can like see that story and start making assumptions without talking to you. They had this advantage where they could look it up and they knew the story where you didn't have that against them. So I hate to use the word against, you know what I mean?
I understand.
Yeah, up against what? So I would have thought that would have been problematic for you because that would have made you really kind of stick out and feel weird about the whole thing because it was so publicized, you know. So I think you had a lot against you when you went in there, and I can see why you would feel like the oddball. Again, I think Adrian, I do think with you, it's just so unique because you're wrapped up in this thing that did make the news, and it just makes you so unique from anything else you're going to see on the internet. Like a lot of the other abortion work is you don't know the story behind it. With you, there's already a lot of preconceived notions, So yeah, that's something you're up against every time you tell this story because Kermit Gosnell's name's going to come into it too, aside from you.
Right.
So he's his own
Right.
separate person, but then you have to almost like, I don't know, answer for what he was doing, even though you're not him. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Adrian, I just there was a couple other things I wanted to ask you before we
Hmm.
wrapped up. That's just kind of, so you're doing good today. And, I think that, like I said, I just think it's fantastic. I know, I've heard, Abby's talked before about her getting some resistance by people in the pro-life movement saying, why would you have an abortion worker come on this show or talk to people? I completely disagree. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. I don't know. I think what you're doing now in any abortion worker, it's helping me. I know that. Like I feel like I'm playing middle person right now and just letting you like talk to the audience, and these tools, even the internet and being able to talk to people like you. I've been in this stuff for a long, long time, and these weapons were never here before. Like this is incredible to have you talking to this audience, and this is a lot more impactful than say maybe 20 years ago if all I had was like a little pamphlet or something like that. This is
Okay.
just on a whole nother level. So I thank you. Like this really helps. And what I want to ask you is this. So I feel like I just want to get like your opinion on some other stuff, like away from the Gosnell thing. My issue in general, and you said you've had 2 abortions yourself. I think the biggest thing with me is that we live in a world where you can debate all day long about when it's okay to have an abortion or not okay, or was it a life, or rape and this and that. I think just in general, we're in a culture right now where everything is fast. Everything's like going through like a drive-through at a fast food. You have a pill for everything. You have a solution to everything. And I think the problem with abortion, it kind of ties in with everything else where we're just we you said it, I heard you say it, like again, it becomes like a routine, like brushing your teeth or whatever. I think that's the problem. It's become a routine. People, what would surprise people and make them think for a minute 30 years ago is now, I mean, you watch TV and it's almost, if you watched a sitcom 40 years ago and one of the characters on the show got pregnant, they would say, "Oh, do you want it to be a boy or a girl?" Now you watch that same TV show, and the first thing they say is, "Are you keeping it?" And society asks the same question. So, do you have any opinions? Because I haven't heard in what I've researched of you that they're always asking you about Kermit Gosnell. What, as someone who has had 2 abortions and has gone through all this, what are your opinions? Like there are people in the audience, maybe girls that are scared, that don't want to have an abortion, or they're being pressured to, or they don't know how the clinics work, or that it does generate money. The clinics are looking, any opinions you have on abortion and the fact that it has just become so normal in our society? Do you have any opinions on that, or any advice you might give to a young pregnant girl who's scared and doesn't know where to go? Any thoughts on that at all?
Well, my thoughts on abortion, you know, is murder.
Okay.
It's murder,
Yeah.
and I I can't sugarcoat death. I can't.
Right. Of course.
So if there's someone that's thinking about abortion, and if they come to me,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them everything that they're going to do to their baby,
Right.
and ask them how. And after that, ask them, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
How do you feel that your baby is being ripped up inside of you, being pulled out piece by piece?
Yeah.
How do you feel that his head or her head will be snapped or cut with
Right.
scissors?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not medical scissors,
Mm-hmm.
scissors.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel, that when all the parts of your baby is out, that someone has to play, uh, put them back together like they're a puzzle.
Right, right.
How do you feel about that happening to your baby?
Yeah,
And that's the reality of it. People don't understand. See, okay, I get it. Pro choice, okay, that's your choice.
right,
However, what bothers me is those people, they have not been on the other side.
right, right,
And I believe if they been on, I'll say if they walked in my shoes, let's just
right,
say that,
right,
I believe their hearts would be changed.
right,
You
right.
know, is abortion is, yeah, it affects you physically,
Yeah,
but it also affects you mentally.
right,
Okay. And I mean, it took me over a year to learn to sleep in the dark again.
right,
And this is a procedure that it wasn't my procedure. This is someone else's baby.
right,
And I have to live with that for the rest of my life.
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, I was just, it's murder.
right,
That's all it is. There's nothing
right,
sunny or rosy. There nothing about it.
right, right. And Adrian, do you agree with me that, I mean, I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of people in this world that have invested a lot of time into conditioning people to not care about it, to just be so used to it. And I think it's tied in with everything else. It's not its own issue. It's getting kids to, get, endorsing 14, and I see girls as young as almost kindergarten mimicking like stripper pole dancing, like what they see on TV, and it's all tied together. Like be as reckless as you possibly can. You can get an abortion. I just think the message is so horrible all around, and unfortunately, when people get older, sometimes it's too late. They've already participated in all this, and they're sitting there going, "What have I done?" Do you agree with that? That like there is, I guess, a numbing of society to just be so used to abortion that they're almost trained to not care. Have you noticed that in your own life, whether it be what you see on television or anything? Do you have any
Well,
opinions on that?
definitely.
Yeah.
During my time at the clinic, the women that were coming in, it was like birth control,
Right.
and there was one client, she came in, she said, "Hey, Adrian." I said, "Well, dag, you're calling me by my first name now." So
Yeah.
something just said to look at the chart
Right.
18 times.
Right. Right. Yeah.
18.
Wow.
So now
Yeah.
I'm looking at guys now, like, you're not going to say no. This is
Yeah.
18 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what people are caught up into with all these clinics.
Right.
It's all about money.
Adrian, I got ripped apart one time. I've got like so many stories with just like debates, and I had someone make a flyer about me once. These are all other stories branching off, but I remember this one time, this kid was so angry at me because I made a comment. I said something to the effect of, Planned Parenthood is taking advantage of women or exploiting them, using them for money. And this guy was like, how could this guy say that talking about me? He's like, I have a daughter. If she got in this situation, but you yourself, Adrian, you said, the clinic that you worked at with Gosnell, it was kind of in like a low income area. Do you think that was strategic? Do where the placement of the place was?
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Speak about that
Definitely.
for a
Because he
minute.
was,
Yeah,
so we have the clinic right here in the middle.
yeah,
On this side, we have the middle and low class,
yep.
and we have the high class on this side.
Right, right,
Very strategic.
right. Yeah, yeah. And
And don't get me wrong, we had, of course, the middle and low income side came, you know, they were the majority of, our clients,
yeah,
but we had a lot of high ends,
right,
and we had a lot that were from different
right.
states.
Of course. Yeah.
So, and yeah, we were the cheapest in the city.
Right. Adrian, do you think too, like, I know he had been getting in trouble for a while, as far back as the 70s, before it finally all went down. Do you think that, like, what was his trick? What was the magic to, like, not getting on anyone's radar? Was that because he was so loved in the neighborhood? Like, what was keeping him out of trouble, do you think?
I think he was paying them off.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Ellen and I, yeah, I believe he was paying them off
Okay.
because um I guess it was a certain standard that they had to follow as far as how many workers
Right. Okay.
or who, because I worked under the table.
Yeah. Okay.
That was another thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to be there
Right.
when Ellen and I was coming there,
Okay. All right.
which was more, mainly would be on a Wednesday. And
Okay.
I didn't work Wednesdays anyway. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, they were being paid off.
Right.
And you know how I know? Well, I'm going to say I
Okay.
believe
Okay.
because when his office got raided,
Yeah.
they said it was about 7 people
Okay.
that worked for L and I.
Okay.
They quit just like that.
Okay.
Just
So
like that, they
right.
quit.
Right. So
So you already told on yourself.
right. Right. Okay. I got what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So Adrian, that's how are you like again, I'm so glad you came on here. I think you're doing such an awesome thing. Coming and talking to us. How are you doing today? Are you good? Do you feel like you're helping, like coming on shows like this and talking to other people? How do you feel about all this now?
Well, I always tell people, I am doing this for Jacob.
Okay.
I'm going to honor him till God calls me home.
Awesome. Right.
And also, I don't, I know,
Yeah.
I just feel it. I know there's some women and men that are still working in those clinics
Yeah.
that want to get out but don't know how.
Yeah.
I went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And if I can just reach one,
Yeah.
I will be so happy.
Right. And Adrian, I'll add to this too. I don't think it's just abortion clinic workers that you're helping too. I'm telling you, like this here, what you're saying today, Adrian, I can tell you for a fact, someone's going to hear this on this show. Maybe it's just a girl who changes her mind and doesn't want to get an abortion, and it was because of you, and you might never even know that it happened. It's just off in a corner of the world somewhere, but your voice reached that person. You know what I mean? I think again, this is a powerful, powerful tool having you on here. It helps me, and it's something I just years ago didn't have. It's only recently, in recent years, with the internet and people getting together and fighting this battle, that it's you've had these magnificent vehicles for kind of reaching people and making them think. So Adrian, again, thank you so much for coming on here. Anything else you want to say, or any messages to people, or any final words that like we didn't get to today that you'd like people to know?
Well, for a woman that's considering abortion, there are so many resources out there.
Yeah.
She can reach out to And Then There Were None. She can reach out to Love Line. She can reach out to Pro Love Ministries. There is help out here.
Yeah. Right.
There's
Great.
help. Give us a call, look us up,
Yeah.
and we will help you.
Right.
We will help you. We will pray for you, help you. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Abortion should not just be, that shouldn't just be the answer. There's
Right.
so many avenues to help save the baby,
Yeah.
help, with the living situations, you name it.
Yeah.
It's out here,
Right. Right.
and for those that want to leave, just walk away.
Yeah.
Just walk away. It'll be the best thing ever. It'll take a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, just walk out. We're here for you.
Yeah.
And I'm praying for those that are still in the clinics, because I always say I do not want them to end up like me
Right.
mentally.
Right.
I
Right.
don't I don't I don't wish that on anyone. I don't wish that on the enemy if I had any. I
Right.
don't.
Right.
It's not good.
Great.
And
Great.
I'm still dealing with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. But
so
like I said, Adrian, though, I know you're dealing with that, but like I said, I really believe what you're doing now is awesome. I think it's a great thing. Adrian, I'll say this. I'll finish with this. There's a lot of other kind of stuff you were talking about, like the prison system and stuff like that, and being lied to. I'd love if you were ever open to it down the road. This is a new show, but if you ever wanted to come back and talk about some of that stuff too, I'd love to hear about it, or you don't have to, but I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, we could talk all day about this stuff. We hit all sorts of other topics on this show. So, if it's something you ever want to keep in touch or come back on again, and we can talk about abortion again or whatever. We'd love to have you back, but that's up to you. That's if it's something you'd be into. This was great, and we'd love to have you on again if you'd be interested.
Sure,
Awesome.
sure.
Great.
Just email me, hit me up,
Great.
and I'm
Great.
coming.
Great. So, Adrian, that's all I have for today. Again, thank you. And what I'll do is, if you can stay on, we want to talk to you after we roll out the credits, and we'll just chat with you for a second, let you know
Okay.
when we're gonna get the episode up and all that. So, again, thank you very much, and for everybody in the audience, if you look up the film, She Was Stronger, Adrian is on there, and you can also look up the organization, and then there were none. And Adrian, any other organizations or anything, or is that good for now? Do you think we covered everything?
Pro Love Ministries,
Okay,
Love Line, and also we have a movie coming out called Unthinkable.
great. Okay, I think Sarah brought that up too. So
Oh
we'll
yeah.
make sure and we'll get the word out about that too. So thank you very much, Adrian. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
awesome,
you.
awesome.